All right, well, I've just had it up with fringe science nutters, and not all fringe science. Like I like Nick Harvey, and this is an artist's theory of why the photon is. That's great. But like the patterns in chaos and Captain Caveman, I like you as a person, fine. I'm just fucking fed up with these stray random comments. You just make real science look bad. Now, when I was young, I worked my way through college working at NASA Ames Research Center. And I noticed there and at the Berkeley Astro Department as well, and Physics Department, the hard physical sciences, they would get, some of the physicists would have on their wall like letters written by fringe scientists about how you're just keeping me out and I explained everything in this 25-page typewritten thing that doesn't have good grammar. I thought it was endearing. But I was wrong. It's just bullshit. It isn't okay. It sucks. It's a bad hobby to be following that. There's too much real stuff. And just simple things. There's cool things in science. So like Captain Caveman and I have been PMing, and I told him, look, man, there's really cool, spiritually valuable bits of things to get out of science. I believe that. So don't make shit up. But he doesn't, and it's typical. So this is going to be a basic science lesson here. About the basic science, it's just finding something. I read a, science pamphlet. Ooh, there's an interesting sentence. Can you believe that? When I take that to a crazy extreme that I don't understand, woo. So for example, things that could be double checked and figured out. He's talking about there's no gravity in the space station. Something's weird about space. Where's the gravity go? No gravity up there. What's keeping it in orbit? Okay. Gravity follows an R squared law. It's because of surface to mass ratio type of issues, really. Right? So you have a bunch of flux. It's, in some sense, conceptually at least, it's traveling out in a circle, so it's getting thinner, right? So it gets weaker. R squared is what rules that. Okay, that means if you get twice as far from the Earth, the gravity will be half as much. Right? You get twice as far from some other thing, then the gravity pull on you will be half as much. Okay. The radius of the Earth is like 4,000 miles. Okay? Got that? It's about 4,000 miles. Okay. The space station flies in a low Earth orbit, around 250 miles up. Okay, so we are on the surface of the Earth. Okay. But this distance is from the center of mass. Being on top of a sphere of mass is mathematically the same as being the distance r from its center of mass. As if it was a point mass. So our radius, the gravity we're feeling, is at a distance of 4,000 miles from that center of mass, the center of the Earth. And the space station, it's just another couple 100 miles up. The gravity in the space station is more or less the same. It's just a little bit less. It'd probably be noticeable because you'd feel light on your feet. But I've seen those people floating. Yes, but you've also seen movies in high school that you should have figured this out. It's like when somebody, let's say somebody's in an elevator 1,000 stories up. See, I promise explaining this because I'm imagining that a lot of people would know this, but maybe nobody. I don't really know what you guys know. Guy's in an elevator at the top of a 1,000-story building, and the elevator is released and it starts free fall. In the elevator, the guy, oh, I'm floating. Ooh, isn't that weird? I wonder why I'm floating. But we're on the side of the building. It's a glass building, one-way glass, And it's clear the guy's just falling. If you jump off the top of the building, hey, I'm floating. I'm floating. Look, the ground isn't floating. It's flying at me. It'll put you in a box, and then you're like, hey, I'm totally floating. No, nothing. I'm just floating. No, you're both falling. And the reason there's microgravity is because the space station's falling at that speed. It's falling at the free fall speed. But it's also going this way. So as it falls, here's the Earth. As it falls, it's over here by the time it would hit the Earth. So it just keeps, it keeps going around because it's actually falling. But since it's going this way, the Earth gets out of the way and it goes around. And the result is what they call free fall. There isn't a force field where gravity doesn't work in space on humans, but it works on the space station. Think about it. I've mentioned this in videos before. That's the thing about you guys saying, no, you should just say it as though it's understandable that somebody gets it wrong and then argues with you and calls you names. Totally be humble. I mentioned this shit before. You guys ever gonna get it? I think you're more likely to get it if I point out how fucking stupid you are not to know this. You live in the 21st century. What the fuck are you spending your time learning to not know something basic like how come they float in the fucking space station? Everybody's a little bit interested in that. Wow, they float up there. I remember thinking, what the hell? How could gravity stop? I mean, they're just right up there when I was a kid. And instead of going, well, I guess there's this force field that stops gravity on humans in space, I kept looking into it. And by high school, they showed, they're like, well, if you fire a cannon strong enough, if you fire a cannon from here, it goes there, right? If you get a more and more powerful one, it'll start going so far that it curves around. And if you get it just right, it'll keep curving around. Instead of coming back and hit the surface, it'll come back and miss the surface and keep going around. That's an orbit. And where the gravity goes is that's kind of free fall, which is what they call it. They're trying to tell you it's free fall. It's just like falling free. Why do you think they go around the Earth in about an hour? I also suggest learning the difference between centripetal and centrifugal force. That's a good one. You might want to figure that one out. You should think a little bit about spaceships and velocities in space. These things,